Want to build a thriving business while making a much bigger impact in the world by becoming known as an influential voice in your industry? The choice versus just a choice with your ideal client? That's exactly what you're going to learn as I interview business experts, industry thought leaders, and entrepreneurs who are in the trenches making their mark so you can too. This is the award-winning podcast, The Ambitious Entrepreneur Show, and I'm your host, Anne-Marie Cross. And welcome back to another episode. So my guest today says, your unique experiences make your book one of a kind, and the world deserves to hear your stories. Joining me on today's show is Melanie Herschorn. Melanie wants to help you step into your spotlight as an authority. She is an independent publisher and book marketing strategist for attorneys and business owners, and she is on a mission to support and empower her clients, you maybe, to elevate your income, your influence and impact with your signature book. Now, on today's show, Melanie's going to dive into why your story deserves to be told and the world deserves to hear your story, why they should hear your story. We're going to talk about understanding more about the benefits of publishing a book, how to build a business with a book. So maybe 2025 is the year you get your story out into the world. So let's welcome Melanie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. I'm so happy to be here.
So glad that you're talking about this particular topic. But what I want you to do, if you don't mind, is give us a bit of an overview, a snapshot on what led you down the path to now be supporting attorneys and businesses to write and then market their books, because that is a unique story. And I'm so thrilled to be able to learn why are you passionate about this industry?
Well, thank you. I mean, it definitely was not a linear situation. I started out in Hollywood in celebrity PR. And when a certain celebrity told me off on my birthday twice when I was in my early 20s, I said, nope, I cannot do this for the foreseeable future. And so I went and I got a master's degree in journalism. And as luck would have it, I got married and then had to move across the country. So move across the US. So if you're picturing the United States, I'm zigzagging back and forth during this story. And I worked in radio news. And I was then, it was great. I loved it. I was an afternoon news anchor and reporter. And, you and I, before we got on, we were talking about how being an entrepreneur, things can be exciting all the time. You get to change. And so that's what being a reporter was like for me, because it was general assignment. Well, when I was in my early 30s, I decided I wanted to have a baby. And so when I was 5 months pregnant, the news station laid me off. So
nice gift.
It was definitely a nice gift. And so then I went, oh my gosh, I'm unemployed and I'm unemployable because I looked down, here's this giant stomach. And I was fortunate enough to be able to freelance for the local newspaper for a little while after that, but it wasn't paying much and it wasn't really a career. And then, my husband got a job across the country again. So we pick up and we move. Now it's 3 of us and a dog, and we move across the country. And I had this idea to design and manufacture breastfeeding clothing. Mm-hmm. I saw a need. I was in that space myself. And I thought, well, if not me, then who? How about I do this? And so after I Googled my way through it, I was selling my clothes on Nordstrom.com and on Amazon and in boutiques in Canada and the US. And then in year 7, I made a bad hire. And I hired somebody to help me with my marketing who belittled me every single day until I felt like I was a shadow of my former self. And so within a few months, I was done. I closed the business and I said, now what? And now what turned out to be where I am today. Wow. It is elevating brilliant people's voices, showing them that what makes them special deserves to be told to the world. And so I get to do that every day. I get to meet people. And, gosh, people are just fascinating. And, you may think, well, I'm just like everybody else, but I promise you are not. And so now I get to publish and help promote people's books, and it's a beautiful thing.
I love that. And when you look back to the various experiences that you've had, and from each of those stories, you not only have you identified, some incredible opportunities and some real successes, there's also been some heartaches, some disappointments, some challenges. And one of the things that I'm sure that you work through with your clients who probably have the very same thing, and we talk to other people who have challenges and situations that happen to them, it's very much the approach and the attitude, or the attitude and the approach that we have to those situations. Do they hold us back? Or will they become the stepping stone to our next level of whatever that might be, because we use it as an opportunity of learning and growing? So I'm wondering, as you look back on your life and history, what have you taken from, excuse me, those experiences to kind of inform and just allow you to be even more excited about some of the things that you're working on today? What have some of those lessons been for you?
Well, I mean, we can take the lesson of, the marketing person.
Yeah.
I decided that since I was treated so poorly, I would make it my business to never let anyone feel that bad ever again, and to always empower people to market themselves and their brand, and to show you that you can do it too. It's
Yeah.
not rocket science, and you have that power within you.
Yes.
And with publishing specifically, when I went to publish my book, my first book, I hired a company to be the hybrid publisher of the book. And one night I was lying in bed and I was reading a different book, not mine. And I got to the bottom of the page and I realized I hadn't read a single word on the page. So I put the book down and I said to myself, "What's bugging you?" And it dawned on me that I didn't trust this person. I didn't trust the publisher to take my book and bring it to the finish line in a way that would be on the level and that I would be proud of. And
Mhm.
so the next morning, I canceled the contract. I left the money with them. I didn't even fight. And I said, "That's it. I'm going to do this myself." And so that's how I got into the publishing space specifically, was because I listened to my intuition.
Yes.
And I was being told, "Don't go this route. You can do it yourself."
Yeah. How often do we have that niggle, that some people might call it gut instinct, intuition? Because if we look back to the story you shared earlier about how you took your business, the clothing business, it was across various other establishments who were representing your brand. You'd built it up over so many years to what other people, I was listening thinking, wow, that's impressive, Melanie. And then you had one person that would come in a matter of months, through their words and speaking over you, you began to doubt yourself. Isn't it so important that now, and fast forward to the experience you just shared, something was just not right with you and you went, you know what, I'm going to make the decision, and the decision is I need to end this partnership because I know it's not for my best interest. Amazing. So it's so important. Share a little bit more about that in words for people who are listening today, and this is going to really speak beautifully into why you deserve to share your story with the world, because I'm sure many people, and probably some of your clients before they get started, but Melanie, who wants to hear my story? My story is not exciting. How's it going to impact anyone? That's a lot of doubt in there somewhere. Has someone spoken over you? Share a little bit more about what you would say to that person.
Well, I'll tell you that I fell into that trap of letting these so-called gurus tell me what I thought I needed to know. And that was the trap that I continually fell into. This marketing person told me that I was wrong and I needed to do it this way. This publisher told me that I was wrong and that I needed to do it this way. So I learned from my mistakes, and I don't do that anymore. That story alone could potentially help somebody who is in a situation right now where they feel like the partnership that they're in is just not right, but they feel that maybe they don't have what's in them to fix it or to get out of it. I'm here to tell you that you do. It is inside you. And if you don't know the answer, think of who is in your inner circle or outer circle, someone you know who may know the answer. Reach out to them and ask. So, why does your story matter? Because your experience, your expertise is going to change other people's lives. And if you hold it in, you are doing a disservice to the world. I'm just in the middle of writing my next book, and I was writing a chapter yesterday about, it's for attorneys that I help a lot of attorneys write and publish their books and market them. And, two attorneys who grew up, went to the same elementary school, maybe they were next door neighbors, they were friends all the way through law school, and they even practiced the same practice area.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to approach things differently.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the same mom and dad. And even if they did, siblings are different.
Mm-hmm.
I have a son and a daughter who don't look alike and don't act alike. And the only reason I know that they're related is because I gave birth to both of them.
Yeah.
The truth is that even if you think you're like somebody, you're not. You're you, and you are special. And I know it sounds like maybe, oh, you're just saying that, but no. Because when I get a chance to get on a call like this, and you and I are across many, many lands from one another, but I get to look at your face and I get to ask you, Anne-Marie, tell me about what you do and why you do it, and what's your mission in this world, and how do you like to help people, and what was your childhood like, and tell me about any pets that you have, or tell me more about how herbal supplements and medicines can help people. There's so many interesting things that we don't walk around telling other people about, but it's totally safe to put that in a book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brilliant. So I'm intrigued. What is it about attorneys? I know that you help other business owners as well, but obviously there's some interest for you for attorneys. What was that? Why is that?
So I never had the balls to go to law school. Pardon my French. I never got it together. I thought, well, I should go to law school, but then I couldn't. I just didn't do it. But I've always found the law to be so fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many things that I, as a layperson, don't know and don't understand. And relying on the TV show Law and Order to, for all my legal knowledge is really not a great thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had a family member go through a really nasty divorce, and everything that I thought would happen based on all the TV shows and movies that I've seen, the opposite actually happened. I was flabbergasted. I went, but wait a minute, that's not how it's supposed to work. And then I thought, well, if I don't know this, I imagine there are other people who don't know this too. And so helping attorneys and people in the financial world bridge that gap to explain things to their clients or would-be clients that these people may not understand, and just making things simpler and easier to comprehend is my favorite thing to do. So if I get to help everybody learn things they didn't know before, maybe I'm not the one teaching them, I'm just the conduit, then I feel like my job is a job well done.
Yeah, fantastic. And that beautifully brings us to the next question, understanding the benefits of publishing a book. And let's give an example then of an attorney. And I know as any business owners, even if we're not in the area of law, we can use a lot of what you're about to share and adapt it to our circumstance and situation. So if there is an attorney that's sitting here listening, or even the recording later, Melanie, what sort of process would you encourage them to think through that this could be the reason that can not only help you build your brand, your personal brand, but also the brand and reputation of your business. How can the two meet? Because sometimes it's like, well, if I'm writing a story that incorporates some of my personal story, how's that relevant to business? And if I want to educate them about business or some area of topic that I'm going to bring, light to, how can I share that and the two meet? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Now, anything that doesn't have stories infused is going to be like a workbook, and it's going to be really dry, and it's going to be really boring. So if you want somebody to read it and enjoy it, you have to infuse storytelling in it. That's how we as humans learn. That's how we remember. That's how we make sense of things, is through story.
Yeah.
So you can explain how to do X, Y, Z, or Z in your case, and then back it up with a story, and it's going to stick in my mind because I'm going to understand what you were saying based on the narrative that you shared.
Yes.
And to your question about, how much of yourself should you bring into a business book? I think the answer is as much or as little as you like. But you, as a business owner, are inherently interesting. And even if you didn't survive a fiery crash and rise as Phoenix from the ashes, like most of us did not, your story is still important because it gives us an idea of who you are and why you do what you do and what makes you tick and what you've been through. A small example is that I shared about how I got laid off when I was pregnant. And I once got a client simply because I shared that story in my emails. She had just been laid off while she was pregnant. And this was the beginning of COVID. And she had decided she was going to go out on her own and become a graphic designer. And so she took a leap of faith to work with me. And let me tell you that her business is skyrocketed. It is, I could cry right now because she went from having an idea to having months and months booked out ahead of time.
Fantastic.
And what made her want to work with me was that the trust that I had built by sharing my vulnerable story and showing that, that sucked. I came home from that moment that they laid me off, and my neighbor was standing outside, and we'd only met twice, and I went up to her and I just sobbed on her shoulder for 10 minutes. It was a bad time, but I got through it, and you can too.
Yes. It's built rapport, doesn't it? And as you say, trust is so very important. And I think some of the things that even we spoke about today, hearing your journey of how you came to write a book. We could have just started the show with tips on how to write a book, why it's so important, but not hearing that personal story and journey of how you got to that in itself draws people in. Well, I know it draws me in. I'm interested and curious and, and wanted to know that. But that's what other people are like as well. And as we're curious, I think we have that curiosity, but also I think how you beautifully led us through that process in giving that example, other people can relate to that story. And if they can relate to that story, there's that trust that is exchanged. And that's important in any relationship, particularly a business or potential business relationship. So what then, thinking about that graphic designer then, or some of your attorney clients, what have been some of the outcomes, which are benefits of their book, and building in some tips on how you can then leverage the book once it's written to build your business? I'm going to put you on big screen so that you can share some tips and reasons what has happened, outcomes with clients.
Sure. So the great thing about having a book is that it is a tool that you can leverage over and over again forevermore. As long as you are still working in that business, your book will be evergreen. The thing is, though, that a book is A book without a marketing campaign attached is kind of like a beautiful car with no gas in it. So you really want to have marketing built right in. And the way that you do that is to look at the end before you even start the beginning. So, what will the goal be for your book? So, for example, I'm going to show and tell here. My book, Make a Big Impact with Your Book. What was my end goal with this? My end goal was to get people to see that I can help them with their book. So, that's what I started with, and that's how I wrote it. And when you build a marketing campaign, what does that look like? Well, it's about getting yourself on amazing podcasts like this one, where other people who have curated audiences bring you on. And then all of a sudden, you are considered an expert because they are giving you that platform. Other things that you can do are putting it out on social media, growing your email list by having an opt-in that's based on your book. You can do an Amazon bestseller campaign to really, to really grow your book's visibility. And once you have a book, the other thing that's very important is that stages open up to you. There are many, speaking opportunities and media opportunities where the person with the book is going to get chosen every time over the person who doesn't have a book. So the book in and of itself is a credibility booster, but then the marketing after that keeps it going. It's this beautiful machine.
So, people I'm sure you've heard before say, well, I've published the book, but nothing's happening.
Oh,
It
girl.
really is the mechanism and what you continue to do with that. And you mentioned a number of really important things, getting on other people's platforms, their podcasts, email, creating your own email list. A lot of those things are very important as part of business as well, and probably what people should be encouraged to do if they're running a business. And so really having the strategic campaign that's centered around the book, as well as all of the other things you're doing, I think if it's all integrated, can really support the ongoing awareness of the book as well, isn't it? Yeah. And it
Absolutely.
may very well be the first point of contact, or should I say, money exchange that a potential client is having with you. And once they've read your book, there's nothing more powerful than them reading and hearing that your voice through your words that you've written for however long it takes them to read a book. Some avid readers might read it in a day, but that experience continues to build that know, like, and trust, doesn't it? Which helps down the track to potential business.
Absolutely. They're going to read your book and then they're going to come to this consultation and already know that they want to work with you because they already know what you're all about. And it's like you said, that trust piece of it. I once did a launch for a marketing program. This was a few years back, and I got 0 signups. And when I went back to look at what it was that I had done wrong, it was that people didn't trust me yet. I was just too new in the space.
Yeah.
But when you have this amazing just piece of trust in the form of a book, people really, they get to know you and like you, and then they want to work with you. They want to do business with you because they know what you're all about.
Yeah. That whole trust factor and someone doing something once, like launching whatever you were talking about, a marketing program. Similarly to, I guess, with your book too, you might show it once, but it's all of the little things that you continue to do, the things that you show up on, and someone hears you on a podcast, you share a snippet on a video and a post on LinkedIn. Everything continues to build validation around your message and what you have to offer. And so it's one of those things I think as businesses we need to do. We know as entrepreneurs, we need to continue to market, share great content. And that's the same with our book too. But the beautiful thing is you've got all of that wonderful words, knowledge, stories all wrapped in that someone then can take away and spend time with. So, okay, so if someone wants to know more about how you can support them, Melanie, what's the best ways for them to connect with you?
I would love to just meet you on Zoom. You can go to meetmelanie.vip and get on my calendar.
Yes. So thinking ahead of to say 2025, I just want to finish off by going full circle again. We talked about someone saying, "Oh, but who wants to hear my story?" Something else that I would love you to finish the show, because you know what we all often do, and we know that we need to do that when it comes to marketing, is to market to potential objections or concerns. And the reason why we do that is we don't want unhelpful beliefs or your mindset to hold you back from what could be the best marketing decision for your business. So if someone is thinking, yeah, but Melanie, there's so many books on the marketplace, how on earth? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that
That's
before.
why I'm laughing.
How on earth can my book stand out? Can I add it? Is there another book, room on the bookshelf for another book to be written in my, my genre, my industry? What would you say to them?
I would say, do you know anyone who's ever been interested in a topic where they only bought one book on it and they said, okay, that's all I ever need to know about it? Probably not. There is always space for you and how you share from your perspective. And don't forget that the book may not necessarily be one that has to be on a bookstore shelf. This may be a book that you drop in the mail to potential clients and you never sell it at a bookstore. It could be the greatest business card you've ever created. I know of an author who printed 12 copies of her book. That's it. And she sent them out to potential clients and got hundreds of thousands of dollars in business just from doing that. So you can't look at it as a one size fits all. It really isn't. You have to look at what your needs and your desires are when it
Yeah.
comes to the book.
That's brilliant, because what you said, you start with the end in mind, which is exactly what I share with people, clients who want to start a podcast. You can't just launch a podcast and expect it to have, a following. And the fact that you said your client printed out 12 books, similarly with other strategies, you don't need to have millions of followers. In fact, I have heard of businesses who have had millions of followers on a podcast, say, but it's never really made a return on business because it wasn't aligned. They didn't think about the end in mind. Two friends got together, started chatting. It was great energy, but they didn't think of the end in mind. And an end of mind, you might want to be a best, New York seller. That's going to take a very different strategy than I want to leverage this as part of building my brand, building my business. And I think we need to get out of that whole mindset of that quantity matters, the number of people, followers, that's vanity metrics, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Versus quality. Who's my ideal client? Who's the audience for this book? What is my ultimate outcome? Am I going to be disappointed if I only sell 12, but I'm going to get hundreds of potential thousands of dollars in I know which I would want. And I think when we start to think of it that way, we look at this whole book publishing from a very different perspective, don't we?
Absolutely. Now, I do want to caution that there is a lot of predatory behavior in the publishing industry. There are a lot of people who will sell you a bill of goods and the product may not be what you're looking for or what you would hope for. So just do your homework. Make sure you're not signing away your intellectual property. Just check, make
Yeah.
sure, maybe consult an attorney before you sign any contract.
Mhm.
That's something that's very important. I like to say, and it's true, I have been called the pioneer of integrity in the publishing industry. And so I literally have nothing to hide. The way I do publishing, we don't take your IP, we don't take your royalties. I don't want them. I want you to have them. But
Yeah.
not every publisher is like that. So just be sure to cross all your T's and dot all your I's before you give them your hard work.
So true. And as you said, jump on a Zoom call with you, experience the process of what it might look like, working with you, Melanie, and I'm sure you'd be able to lead and steer them in the right direction. Well, thanks once again for coming on the show. It's great to connect again and hear what you're up to. And so, as we said, 2025 may be the year that someone Thanks. You know what? I've been thinking about that for a while. Maybe this is the year that I finally get my story and my expertise, my thoughts onto paper and out into book. And Melanie, I could not think of anyone else to recommend highly than you. So thanks once again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie.
Hey, it's Anne-Marie. Before I go, are you a coach or a consultant who feels like the world's best kept secret? Your experience is vast, yet secretly you're frustrated because despite all of your hard work, you're just not getting the visibility, leads, or new clients you'd hope for, and you don't know why? I've created free training and resources that'll help you build visibility, generate leads, and enroll dream clients with ease because you're seen as a trusted authority, even in a crowded marketplace. And you've positioned yourself as the choice versus just a choice with your unique, uncopyable, and unforgettable brand and message. And you're able to nurture listeners into leads from your podcast, even from your first episode. To access these free resources, go to ambitiousentrepreneurnetwork.com/community. That's ambitiousentrepreneurnetwork.com/community.